Good evening. Welcome to Columbia Heights Public Schools Independent School District 13 School Board meeting for Tuesday, November 27th, 2018. I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask you to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and welcome to everybody. Looks like we've got a pretty full schedule here tonight. We'll start off, Hall, if you would do a roll call for me, please.
Mueller. Here. Severson. Here. Larkin.
Here.
Lewis.
Here.
A Samurai. Here. Palmer.
Here.
And Superintendent Kelly.
Here.
Thank you. Our mission statement, Columbia Heights Public Schools create worlds of opportunity for every learner in partnership with supportive small-town communities by challenging all to discover their talents, unleash their potential, and develop tools for lifelong success. Our core values are community, excellence, collaboration, integrity, respect, courage, and innovation. Next up is the agenda approval, adjustments, announcements, and correspondence. We'll start with the approval of the agenda. If I get a motion to move that forward, please.
So moved.
Laura?
Second.
Gloria, thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Announcements. December 11th at 5 p.m. there'll be a subcommittee on policy meeting. December 18th at 7 p.m. there'll be a regular school board meeting here in the community room. December 24th through January 1st, there's no school winter break. January 8th, a Tuesday at 5:30, there'll be an organizational meeting here in the community room. January 8th at 7 p.m. be a regular school board meeting. January 15th at 5 p.m. there'll be a school board listening session. Also on the 15th of January at 5:30 there'll be a school board work session. January 21st, so Monday, there'll be no school. January 22nd at 7 p.m. there'll be a regular school board meeting. And then January 25th is a Friday. It's no school. It's a grading day. Next up would be correspondence. Superintendent Kelly, is there any correspondence tonight?
Mr. Chair and members, there's been no correspondence for this evening.
Okay, thank you. Next up would be communication to the board. Citizens and employee representatives. At this time, any citizen or employee may briefly address the school board. The board will listen to brief remarks, ask clarifying questions, and if desired, request that the administration follow up. The board will not take action at this meeting on requests presented at this time. Okay. The consent agenda, we'll look to pass that. The consent agenda tonight includes the personnel report. So if we get a motion to move that forward.
So moved.
Molly?
Second.
Natty, thank you. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? That motion carries. Next up is the acknowledgement of contributions. That would be in a motion, a second, and then I'll read it and then open it to discussion. So if I get a motion to move that forward.
So moved.
Lorian?
Second.
Is that you, Molly? Molly, thank you. Okay, acknowledgement of contributions. Whereas Minnesota Statute 123B.02 permits school boards to receive for the benefits of the district, bequest donations or gifts for any proper purpose and apply the same to the purpose designated. In that behalf, the board may act as trustee of any trust created for the benefit of the district and for the benefit of the pupils thereof. Therefore, be it resolved by the School Board of Columbia Heights Public Schools, Independent School District Number 13, that the school board accepts with appreciation the contributions detailed in the background in the amount of $22,544.41. And that detailed background includes a donation of $100 was made to Columbia Academy by Anonymous for uniforms for students in need. A donation of $1,200 was made to Columbia Heights Activities Department by the Columbia Heights Athletic Boosters for the homecoming fireworks. A donation of $100 was made to Columbia Heights Activity Department by Kathy Kelly for homecoming fireworks. Donation of $50 was made to the Columbia Heights Activity Department by John Fry for the homecoming fireworks. A donation of $30 was made to Columbia Heights Activities Department by Don and Stan Hoyam for homecoming fireworks. A donation of $15 was made to Columbia Heights Activities Department by Kristen Stunkel for homecoming fireworks. A donation of $650 was made to Columbia Heights Activities Department by Mike Riley for the girls' swim team practice space and busing. A donation of $250 was made to Columbia Heights Activities Department by Roxy Knight Realty for student needs of deposit for the New York Studies Seminar. Donation of $600 was made to Columbia Heights Activities Department by the Columbia Heights Athletic Boosters for the bowling team. A donation of $3,000 was made to the Columbia Heights Activities Department by the Columbia Heights Athletic Boosters for the football team. A donation of $600 was made to the Columbia Heights Activities Department by Columbia Heights Athletic Boosters for the girls' basketball team. A donation of $7,500 was made to Columbia Heights Activities Department by the Columbia Heights Athletic Boosters for a new gym scoreboard. A donation of $300 was made to Columbia Heights Activities Department by the Columbia Heights Athletic Boosters for the volleyball team. A donation of $2,500 was made to the Columbia Heights Activity Department by the Columbia Heights VFW for the wrestling team. A donation of $827 was made to the Columbia Heights Public Schools by Kathy Kelly for the all-staff picnic. A donation of $59.99 to Columbia Heights High School by Dan and Rochelle Robleski for community service project. And then the following donations were made to Columbia Heights High School Scholarship Program. Luann Riestead, $20, Pam Sigurdsson, $50, and Ralph Karki, $50. Value in kind, a donation of 10, is it a hockey stool, hokey stool? I don't know how to pronounce hokey stools, to North Park Elementary by Donors Choose for pre-K classroom, estimated value of $1,182. A donation of 200 coats to Columbia Heights Public Schools by Pilgrim Cleaners for student needs, an estimated value of $2,000. Donation of an iPod Touch to Valley View Elementary by Mary Beth Higgins and Leslie Shirk for Phy-Ed class, estimated value $111.64. Donation of Buddha boards to Valley View Elementary by Donors Choose for Miss Nelson's class, estimated value of $548. And a donation of 40 pair of hats and mittens to Columbia Heights Public Schools by Jerry Greenwald of the Fridley Campaign of Cheer for Student Needs, an estimated value of $200. Total fiscal year 2018-19 monetary contributions to date is $36,220.46. Discussion. Comments.
I'm so overwhelmed by the generosity of our community and just very, very grateful for really giving the time and the money to be able to really make this a good experience for our kids. I'm just really grateful. I'm always overwhelmed whenever I see this list.
It's fun to see the diversity in the arts and the athletics and the just basic student needs, the community and different groups and individuals in the community are really giving generously. That's really great. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, yeah, great big thank you. So that's a resolution on the table, so we need a roll call vote to approve that. Holla, please.
Mueller.
Aye.
Severson.
Aye.
Larkin.
Aye.
Lewis.
Aye.
Samurai. Aye. Palmer.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you again to everybody. Very generous. Next up is discussion reports and information items. Reports of members of the board. Board members will report on board activities since the last regularly scheduled meeting. Lorian?
Sure. Attended the Columbia Heights High School Band and Choir concerts. They did an excellent job, so it was really fun to see those students perform. It was at the listening session and the work study. Had lots of conversations with parents and community members, had a meeting with directors Stenvik and Bennett, and conversations with Superintendent Kelly, and also attended the Columbia Academy PTO meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nanny?
Yeah. I was able to attend the chair meeting right before this meeting and participate in the work session last week. And like Lorian, have had conversations with Superintendent Kelly and community members. So it's been a good couple weeks.
Thank you.
Sure. I also attended the work study session last week. Had a chance to meet with the strikers at the end of the season banquet, and I just want to give a shout out to those coaches who did a just fabulous job with the kiddos this year. They did really well. And like everyone else, lots of conversations with community members. Thank you. I do not have a report.
Okay. Laura?
Well, I attended the work-study session, the concerts over at the high school, always, both the choir and the band concerts. They're always amazing. So I really enjoy seeing how far they grow over the years, to see those kids since, they started way back in the day, and now they're playing very complicated music. If anybody gets a chance to actually go and see what our students are doing, it is definitely a wonderful evening and very well put together. Also, I think that might actually have been it. So it's been a very busy week for me on a personal level, so I haven't had much of a chance other than that. So I think I'm just going to cut it short in consideration of the very long agenda we have this evening.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree. It's looking long. So mine's very short. I did attend the band concert, and I concur the kids are doing a great job. It was actually fun to attend. I had the work study last week and then the chair meeting prior to this. And that would conclude my report. Next up would be the superintendent's report. Superintendent Kelly.
Mr. Chair and members, I'm going to defer my report due to the timeliness of the meeting tonight, but I did attend the concerts and they were great. So hats off to our musicians and singers.
Okay, now on to the fun stuff. Next up on our agenda is recognition of the Green Ribbon School Award, and we've got, I think, a handful of people that are going to be involved with this, starting with Krista. Jeff's going to be there. Here they all come. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I just didn't have any place to put it. But yeah,
I'm just thinking.
yeah. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Yes. Would you like to pull up a chair? Please do.
Embarrassing situation.
Yeah.
What's that?
Probably just should have most of it here.
Yeah. We could have actually traded places. Looks like you guys need more space.
Chair Larkin, members of the school board, Superintendent Kelly, we're so pleased to be here this evening with a number of champions of the North Park Green Ribbon Award and efforts. And I'll just say that annually, the United States Department of Education recognizes schools and districts as Green Ribbon schools. They're nominated for the award by the state education officials for their innovative efforts in 3 pillar areas: to reduce environmental impact and costs, to promote better health, and to ensure effective environmental education. This evening, we'll celebrate the champions of the Green Ribbon Award at North Park Elementary, and I'll hand the mic over to Principal Jeff Sosik, who will introduce the cast of characters that we're fortunate to have here with us this evening.
Chair Larkin, Superintendent Kelly, members of the board, thanks for having us this evening. We don't get into doing these sorts of things to be recognized. We do it because we were really concerned about the kids that we turn out and what they know and what they're able to do and what their skills are, and trying to help them become the wonderful, responsible citizens that we know that they all will be. And so I brought a few people with us tonight. Of course, you all know Commissioner Kordiak, our Anoka County Commissioner, who was instrumental in much of our work here. And then Mr. John Olson, who works with the Minnesota Department of Education, who is very helpful and instrumental with us actually even applying for this award. And then, of course, Chris Nelson. Nothing good happens at schools without custodial support. And Chris is our day custodian and one of our chief researchers for what to do next in our mission to be more green. And, of course, Mr. Stan Mraz, who has been the motor behind all of this. He's the ideas. He is the guy that gets it done. None of this happens without Mr. Mraz. And then we brought 3 of our 5th grade students. We've had many, many students who've graduated from North Park since we've begun our journey towards being more green. But none exemplify the the students that we are most proud of putting out at North Park from a standpoint of sustainability and environmental friendliness. And so with us tonight, we have Ariel, and we have Meto, and we have Isabel. And they'll be talking a little bit here in a few minutes. I'm just going to bear with me a moment, because I would like to read what the Department of Education put in their program at the awards ceremony in Washington, D.C. And again, thank you very much to the school board and Superintendent Kelly for seeing that a team was able to go there and accept this award. It was a wonderful experience, and it was a great honor to be among the 46 schools that were awarded green ribbons this year. So bear with me a moment. It is a couple of pages, because Mr. Mraz is doing a lot over there at North Park. So, North Park Elementary School in the Columbia Heights Public School District has been on an environmental stewardship journey to reduce its environmental impact and operational costs for many years. Its dedicated staff and students have committed to creating a learning environment that reduces impact on the environment, improves student and staff health, provides effective environmental and sustainability education. Approximately 20 years ago, North Park's Green Journey began when the building organized an all-school paper recycling program in each classroom and office area. North Park's mission to help the environment went a step further with the school when the school joined a program called Schools for Energy Efficiency. North Park led the district in reducing their operational costs of energy by educating staff and students on the ways to reduce energy usage. North Park Elementary reduced its energy use by nearly 10% and was recognized in the top 25% of the nation for efficient operations with the Energy Star rating of 92. While participating in C, the school installed light motion sensors to ensure the lights would automatically turn off when there was no motion detected within a 10-minute period. North Park's awareness and commitment to the environment continues to grow each year. To complement the North Park School recycling program and energy conservation efforts, the school implemented a cafeteria composting program in 2012. Along with all food scraps, students and staff also compost paper towels from the restrooms. Due to the success of the environmental program, North Park received an award from the Anoka County Board of Commissioners, thank you, Commissioner Kordiak, for an innovative recycling and composting program that has reduced overall landfill waste by over 90%. In 2013, North Park's third grade project-based learning approach helped students develop plans to transform an idle weed-infested courtyard into an engaging all-school edible garden. Within a year, a team of dedicated staff members wrote several grants and created an 1,800 square foot garden active learning space over the summer. North Park's courtyard garden beds are made from composite recycled plastic, the soil brought in is organic, and the landscape fabric under the wood chips is made from post-consumer plastic bottles. Each grade level, as well as the Developmental Cognitive Disabilities Program, has its own raised bed for which it is responsible. Throughout the garden, there are educational signs, several flip benches that quickly can be converted into tables, and a corner garden composting area. The garden also has a bench made from 1,000 plastic milk containers next to a wildflower pollination area. Along with the courtyard garden, North Park students and the staff have access to the district's Blooming Heights Edible Schoolyard and outdoor classroom. Columbia Heights Public Schools has a full-time agricultural specialist who provides instruction and resources to promote academic achievement and healthy nutrition for all students. The agricultural specialist also visits North Park often to work with all students in the courtyard garden and in the classroom with lessons focusing on nutrition, sustainable gardening, and the environment. Organic matter created by worms in the school science lab is brought to the courtyard garden to enrich the soil. North Park also collects its gray water, uncontaminated water from experiments, aquariums, crayfish bins, etc., and it is poured down a science lab table with a sink and collected in 8-liter containers. This water is used to water indoor plants. These plants provide aesthetic beauty throughout the school and help provide cleaner air for students and staff. In addition, the Tower Garden, a vertical aeroponic growing system, allows students to grow up to 28 vegetables, herbs, fruits, and flowers in less than 3 square feet. Throughout the school year, students can grow and eat produce right in the science lab. Also in use in the science lab is an aquaponics aquarium that combines raising aquatic animals with hydroponics, cultivating plants in water. The natural fish waste fertilizes the plants, and the plants clean the water. This is a perfect tool to teach closed systems and an excellent example of sustainable farming techniques. In addition, for all science units that require batteries, the lab only uses rechargeable batteries, eliminating waste and saving the school money. Through several district health improvement partnership grants from the state, students are served a fresh fruit or vegetable snack 3 times a week and enjoy a daily salad bar. The grant also has facilitated a Yoga Calm initiative, which has assisted many teachers in successfully redirecting student energy and helping students to gain a stronger ability to focus and demonstrate self-control. Finally, the most recent addition to North Park has been one of the most exciting. The school now features a 60-kilowatt solar array system on its roof. 1 year of production is the equivalent of the offset of carbon dioxide emissions from burning 56,250 pounds of coal. During science classes, students often will climb the hill to the top of the steep hill behind the school to look down on the solar panels and discuss with their teacher the impressive power of photovoltaic arrays harnessing the sun's energy. North Park is committed to continuing its environmental stewardship journey and to creating a learning environment that improves student and staff health, as well as providing effective environmental and sustainability education. Now, that was a lot. And thank you for bearing with me. But it's really important to recognize all of the work that our staff and students have done. And I think we're also going to give Mr. Mraz an opportunity to talk a little bit more about some of the sustainability efforts at North Park. And I know that our 3 students, I hope I didn't steal too much of their thunder, are just dying to share the initiatives that they take part in every single day. So, Mr. Mraz?
Thank you. When I was listening to Mr. Sasek read that, I felt like I saw a lot of Kristen Stunkel in there, too.
I would say so.
District as well. So without the support of our district, so thank you, Superintendent Kelly, and our custodian, and Mr. Sasek, it happens. It's easy to say no, but sometimes it's a challenge to say yes, and I think we did it well by being very strategic and going slow and steady and putting a lot of thought behind each of the initiatives that we proposed throughout the years. So, who gets to go first? Ariel, you're next to me. Wait, should we work this way to be on? Should we rock, paper, scissors real quick?
So what are the 2 things that you're going to talk about, Ariel? There are 2 things in particular that you were going to talk about tonight, right?
Mr. Moroz, can we move that microphone closer to her? I think it's going to pick up the one that's on the table. She's soft-spoken. Over towards her. Take the other one away so we can hear her. Just take the other one away. And then grab the red one from her. And then just lean in there, honey. We just want to be able to hear you.
We're talking about recycling and composting. At our school, we compost by picking up trash, and we also have a compost garden in our garden. Well, yeah, we compost in the cafeteria by throwing away the leftover foods that we haven't eaten and stuff, yeah, pretty much, and paper towels. When we recycle, each teacher has a recycling bin in their classroom that we try to fill up every week or month. So yeah, and we also recycle in the cafeteria too by throwing away our curtains, our sporks, and all the other things too. I don't think that thing is long enough, but
Okay, Meadow, what are the things that you're going to talk about?
I'm going to talk about gardening. So in our garden, just like Mr. Sosik said, we have composting stuff and our raised beds and all that. They're all composted. And Miss Lemon comes in sometimes to help us to talk to us about gardening and all, and sometimes cooking, maybe, and a lot of other stuff, and it's really fun. Yeah. I'm gonna put in. Hi, I'm Isabel, and I will be talking about the stuff that we do in the science lab and also the solar panels. The solar panels, the solar panels on our roof are, I don't know what to say. There are a lot of solar panels on our roof. It covers half of the roof. And in the science lab, we use gray water, like Mr. Sosik said, and we have multiple animals in the room as well. We have a snake named Starburst, a leopard gecko named Coco, and then we have one axolotl.
What do you guys do with the gray water?
We use the gray water to water the plants in the garden, and I'm not sure what else we do with it. No, we do not drink it. We also use it for the plants around the school, and
Excellent.
Nice job, guys.
Okay. Yeah, and I know Chris Nelson has been instrumental in everything that we do, and Chris is one of our he's kind of our chief researcher. What's your latest piece of research that you've been working on, Chris?
Instead of having the styrofoam composting trays, I found out that it's maybe a penny more per tray. So it'd be nice to get that involved instead of the styrofoam.
To have compostable trays?
Yep.
Okay, because there are times, it's like, oftentimes if we have an absence in the kitchen, the first thing that we do to make up for it is we use styrofoam trays because we won't have anybody to clean the trays. And it's kind of all drives us crazy because we're seeing all that styrofoam going into the garbage. And Chris had the brilliant idea. He's like, well, they make composting trays. Let me do some research, And Chris, on his break, gets on the computer. Well, this is what the cost is. How much it would cost us per year, and so on and so forth. And so that's going to be one of the things that we focus on next. Okay.
So to celebrate North Park and to share with others what is happening at North Park, and so that you can see that massive solar panel array on the roof, we have a video. And tonight is the world premiere of this video. And so with no further ado, I am going to start it. No one has seen this except for the videographer and the communications department. So here it goes.
I remember this evening we were having a family movie night here at school, and we were having popcorn up in the cafeteria area, and a student brought her mother over to show her how we composted here at school, and she showed her the composting, then the recycling, and then the actual garbage, and she said, and usually the garbage is a lot less empty than everything else, and she said to her mom, can we start composting at home? And for me, that was a moment of like, wow, that is exactly why we started this, is that it's kind of that pay it forward concept. If we start it here, everyone's going to just keep paying it forward.
the green team is we help the environment. Like we plant trees, we go out to the garden and like plant other like fruits and vegetables and other stuff, and then sometimes we go out and just clean up the playground. We usually eat something or make something. Can I have it? Like this huge cucumber, which my friend found. I don't know where. We play games, we pick fruits, make snacks, and most of all, we just have fun. The one that I do that's the most environmentally friendly is the green team one, Poetry for the Planet and Green Team. We write about nature and write poems about it, and then we go out and just explore. Well, in the science lab, we have gray water.
And use that for the plants around the room, actually the whole school, which just kind of makes the school less institutional, makes it feel more of a homey place.
We also have some worms that compost some of the food scraps that we get, let's say banana peels and stuff like that, and they compost it, and then they get more dirt and we get less food scraps.
We've done a lot within just learning about the creatures that we share our planet with. So we have some animal friends that we use in our science lab as well. So we've done a lot, and I think what's made it successful is we haven't tried to take it all in at once. We started with recycling and then moved to composting, and the district is part of Schools for Energy Efficiency, and so we looked at our energy waste and tried to encourage staff and students to be conscientious of turning off the lights and saving electricity that way. So yeah, lots of different things that we've done. It's really exciting.
The Green Ribbon Award is something that's given out by the U.S. Department of Education to inspire schools to develop and implement strategies to reach 21st century excellence in the areas of sustainability. It's really nice to receive awards, but really it's helped us to examine why it is that we do this. We don't do this for awards. We do it to help create better citizens, to help teach our students to grow up and be those citizens that are going to make the right decisions to make sure that our Earth is going to be sustainable for human life.
North Park has participated in a program called Schools for Energy Efficiency, been recognized with the Energy Star score of 92, and installed a 60-kilowatt solar array system on its roof. North Park composts food scraps and restroom paper towels. Students maintain tower and aquaponics gardens. They also develop plans to transform a weed-infested courtyard into a garden active learning space where each grade level has its own raised bed. The garden features educational signage, flip benches that quickly can be converted into tables, a composting area, and a bench made from 1,000 plastic milk containers next to a wildflower pollination area.
The trip to Washington, D.C. was wonderful.
Kind of really humbling. At the same time, it's very overwhelming to see how many different schools have different ways of doing the same program. Some had very little, but they still got their reward. Some had a lot. Cool ideas that we could probably implement here. It was a great experience. I don't know any other way to explain it, but awesome.
And sitting in the auditorium with all of the other schools, with the 45 other schools that were recognized as Green Ribbon schools this year, it was nice to see them and to congratulate them and to be congratulated, but it was also really nice to hear what they're doing. First of all, it validated us that, you know what, we do deserve it.
Uh-oh.
Well,
You cut me off.
Brian? Well, pardon? It didn't finish downloading? Well, yeah, okay. I guess we'll have to put on the website the rest of it. But we have all of the people here live.
We could reenact.
So I apologize about that. But actually it gives us a chance also, though, for some of our other presenters to share some of what they shared in the video, because really everybody that is here at the table is also featured in the video.
Yes. So Commissioner Kordiak played an instrumental role in really getting us off the ground with composting. So we were interested in composting at a time that Commissioner Kordiak was interested in finding a school that would get into composting. And so it was really an excellent interdependent relationship that we were able to create. We would not have gotten off the ground without Commissioner Kordiak's help. So Commissioner Kordiak, I don't know if you had a couple of words or.
It's not very often I'm at a loss for words, but I'm really impressed. You have taken this the extra step. Anoka County got engaged early. We help with signage. We help with bins. We help with the procedural things of getting started into organics and effective recycling. They really have gone the extra mile. It took Mr. Mraz and his supporters to make it work. It takes champions to make this work. All of us probably go home and recycle in some measure, and you're to be commended for that. in my long career with Anoka County, which as some of you know is slowly backing up, I've been active with recycling throughout it. Right now, I still work actively with the 19 jurisdictions in Anoka County. We've recycled thousands of tons of waste of recycling each year. But there's so many more opportunities. There's so many big entities like school systems, like institutions of bearings that could do so much more. And you really have stepped up and made it work. You recognize that there's a 17% tax on every pound of garbage that you dispose of. There's no tax for recycling material. I mean, you not only are saving those dollars, you figured out you can have less collection of waste, which makes it economical as well as supportive. I mean, you've impressed these young students. I love the day that I was at North Park, standing in line, watching these lovely young children walk the milk cartons go here, food material goes there, garbage goes there, and off they go to the next class. They just, person after person, are teaching each other. They're learning throughout the years. They've been doing it now for quite a few years. And I would just simply have to commend you for your efforts. I don't know what else to say. You've done something that most do not. You've taken, I mean, worms, really? I get the worms, but you've really gone the extra mile, and you're to be commended for that. I congratulate the board, you, Mr. Chairman, the board members, County Kelly, for your supporting this, because really, they may have some ideas, but they need your assistance so many times to get it done, or they cannot do what they have done. And so I commend you for offering the support and leadership to allow them to do that, and you to take that step and make it work in your schools, and maybe you're a good learning tool for others. So I'll congratulate you and thank you all.
Thanks, Commissioner. And then we also have John Olson here from the Department of Education, and we wouldn't ever have applied for this award. John learned of some of the things we were doing. He said, well, you know, you guys, you might want to fill out this application. And so then Mr. Mraz and I worked on the exhaustive application. And,
Just 33 pages, right?
But without John's support and help, and without him really kind of giving us that push, we would never have applied. So thanks, John.
Thank you. The U.S. Department of Education was met up with about 80 different organizations in Washington, D.C. that work on sustainability kind of issues, and said, how can we promote good sustainability practices among schools, given hardly any budget? And so they came up with this award with the intent that it's to highlight good exemplary practices that can be spread around other schools that might follow suit. And certainly your school fits that category. As you mentioned, there are 3 areas for the award, and we look for people that have exemplary practices in all 3 areas, and your school certainly fills that niche in doing that. I think one of the things that was most impressive to our judges, we have Minnesota judges who pick out nominees to send on to the national level. And I think what impressed our people, one of the most things, is that students were involved in all of those areas, from the energy thing to the recycling, to the classroom activities, the gardening. They were all outstanding activities that brought in the students and also brought in the community too. Parents involved with maintaining things in the summer and carrying through and providing incentives. So I have a certificate from Commissioner Caselius, who wanted to recognize your efforts as well. So the Minnesota Department of Education presents this certificate of commendation to North Park Elementary School for achieving the 2018 U.S. Department of Education Green Ribbon Schools Award, presented this day by Brenda Caselius. So I'll give this to Jeff. So thank you very much, and thank you for your involvement.
Speaking of certificates, we've got a couple as well, and I'd like to, when we wrap up here, make sure everybody gets a chance to see the plaque as well. But John, if I could ask you to come on up here, let's get a picture with you. We've got a microphone. Got a certificate that, on up here if you would, John. It's the Center for Green Schools Good Apple, presented to John Olson. The Center for Green Schools thinks you are good to the core, and the best in the bushel. Thank you for your commitment to healthy, safe, and sustainable learning environments. Keep up the good work. So this is presented, and that's, is that Anissa Hemming? The Director, Center for Green Schools. So thank you very much for your support. It's a lot to do with us getting this award. So.
All right.
And while he's sneaking through the line there, Jim, I'm going to ask you to come on up, Jim Kordiak. I don't know how many people know this, but Jim is retiring, I believe, at the end of this year. Is that correct, Jim?
Give or take.
30-plus years?
Christmas time.
How many years?
45, actually.
45, I had you 30-plus, so I was close, all right. County Commissioner for 45 years, so thank you.
32.
Well, I just
And a
said 30.
probation officer for many years.
Okay, so
Did them all.
you've been working 45. Okay, anyway. Commissioner Jim Kordiak, and recognized for your support of and ongoing dedication to environmental education in the Columbia Heights Public Schools. Thank you for your leadership and service to the students, staff, and community of Columbia Heights Public Schools. So,
Thank you very much. You received other awards. I've been here before. We're very proud of what you do, and you deserve to be, so I appreciate what you do. I love what I do, and I'm sure you do too.
Jeff mentioned a little bit about what Jim was involved with, but it sounds like he was extremely instrumental especially in the composting piece and getting things going, because it was kind of hard to find someone that was willing to do that. So Jim will downplay it a little bit, but he did a nice job. So.
Yes.
And then Jeff, if you want to come on up real quick here. You know what? Jim and John, why don't you guys come on back up? You hold that and have them be honoring leadership in facilities, health, and environment 2018, North Park Elementary School, Fridley, Minnesota. U.S. Department of Education, Green Ribbon Schools.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks again, guys.
You good? Thank you very much. You can take that back with you.
Okay, you want your box?
There's one more thing.
Oh, we got, wait on.
And it's a good thing I'm tall.
Yeah.
Because, Jeff?
We got the tall board member.
Oh, my.
Okay, we'll not be having Maddie help hold that up.
Laura.
Yeah. Wow.
So there's the banner that.
So this will be affixed to North Park.
All right, cool.
Yes.
All the stuff you're taking home today, Jeff. And since we're already going to have a really long meeting anyway, I'm going to keep going on this one for just a second. You guys sitting over there, thank you for coming tonight and taking the time to speak. I know it's kind of scary and you're not sure how it's going to be taken, but I think John is the one, or several of them have mentioned that if you guys weren't doing what you're doing every day, teaching us, the adults, how to do it right, you wouldn't be as successful as you are. The story that one of the teachers told about the mom learning about the recycling from their kids. That's what's amazing. And you guys will carry that through your whole life. So thank you for everything you've done to help this award get presented to North Park. I really appreciate that. And before we send you home to do your homework, I'm going to let the other board members comment if they would like to as well, please.
Just want to echo what he said. Thank you, ladies, for coming. You did a great job sharing your story with us on the video and here in person, and keep doing what you're doing.
Bill? All right, thank you guys for coming in tonight. Really appreciate it. The only thing I think Kristen would like to get a group picture of you guys out in the entryway, if you don't mind doing that before you go home. Thanks again. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Next up on the agenda would be the vision card for Valley View.
Chair Larkin, members of the board, Superintendent Kelly. This evening, we are here to present the Valley View Elementary School Vision Card. So I'm here, of course, with Principal Edward Fellows, Assistant Principal Leslie Shirk, and Dean Mary Beth Higgins. Our mission is to create worlds of opportunity for every learner. And our core values are community, excellence, collaboration, integrity, respect, courage, and innovation. So with this presentation, Principal Fellows and the Valley View team are going to present information from the previous school year and the data. It's Principal Fellows.
Chair Larkin, Superintendent Kelly, members of the board, thanks for having us this evening. The previous presentation was a great reminder that kids are more than a test score, and also teachers are more than a test score as well. And so it was great to see the North Park being recognized, and congratulations to them. So as you can see, we're going to start off with our enrollment. Our numbers include pre-K starting in 2016. I think I checked in last week, we're right around 550, and so I feel like we're at a stable spot. We're always looking to grow. The next piece is our demographics as a campus, and it is a reflection throughout the district. And then our special populations, just as a reminder for anyone in the audience that doesn't know, is that one person can be counted in multiple categories, and so it's important to remember that out of the entire student population, we may have students fitting in each of those categories multiple times. And so when we're getting to the strategic scorecard, the first part is the instructional rubric. And what we are focusing on as a staff is we're working on our professional learning communities. And as a campus, we are meeting at least 3 times a month as a PLC in each grade level, and each department is meeting. And each individual grade level is creating a SMART goal based on a skill and aligned with the standards. We, after receiving our data from last year, we know that there's a lot of work, and we got to be focused on the work we do and use our time wisely. And we're also trying to work vertically as well. And so, and along with that, we're using Avid to embed throughout all of our curriculum and PLC dialogue that we're having. Kind of continuing on the support and participation side, the reading and math interventions are being done in all grade levels, K through 5, and I'd also like to mention those students that are performing where they need to be on grade level. We're also giving those opportunities for those students to enrich and grow as well through research and some open-ended tasks that the teachers are creating. So we are differentiating the student experience academically through, with math, we're using a lot of Dreambox, which is low prep and high yield for the teachers, and also the press interventions, K through 5, working on those reading skills that help lead us up to those higher level thinking strategies. And then on each of these pieces, last year we did use, second grade used the NWEA map. And so 19% of our students met growth target from fall to spring in math. On the second one, 33% of second grade students met reading growth targets from fall to spring. And then our largest gap in growth targets was between our white and black students. That's something that we're targeting and working on right now. And then on B4, our press interventions allowed more students to be assessed regularly and get that data to individualize and personalize their needs because of the press intervention. And so we've grown that, of course, as a district in grades K1 as well. On proficiency, 23% of our students were proficient in all grade levels. And in reading as well, 23%. In math and reading were proficient. On our science scores, we had 19% of our students in 5th grade last year were proficient in science. And then we had 34% proficiency gap between Hispanic and white student achievement. And then in reading, there was a gap of 31% between Hispanic and white students. Like I said, we're looking at our Tier 1 instruction that we're giving all students and making sure that we're becoming driven by the standards and using the curriculum as supplements, and then creating any gaps that we see, because that's part of the PLC work that we've found out over the summer. And And so we are working to create a safe learning environment and working on the social emotional learning pieces. And Assistant Principal Shirk is going to be talking a little bit more about that, as well as Dean Higgins. We went from 192 out-of-school suspensions 2 years ago to 48 out-of-school suspensions. And so we did see a drop in that. And now we're looking at making sure we're not just looking at the punitive and why kids are struggling in school, but providing those tools so that they can feel successful and cared for. That goes beyond the academic piece. And our SMART goal in literacy this summer with the AVID committee and also meeting with grade level leaders, we wanted to embed what we're doing in AVID and also combine that with literacy. And so we think that it's important for students to know the levels of thinking and have some of those metacognitive skills to identify what they're doing in class and being able to have some of those dialogues with their peers as well as students. And so embedding AVID and tying those into the PLC goals that each grade level is creating. There's SMART goal for math. That's, excuse me, I apologize. The majority of our PLC work has been focused on math and what we're doing K-5 vertically, and also making sure that we're providing the relevance and rigor of instruction at each grade level. And so we are wanting to increase 10% of our math scores as measured by MCAs, math fact fluency, and classroom assessments. And I am going to let Ms. Shirk talk a little bit about the social emotional learning.
Sure. Good evening, Chair Larkin, Superintendent Kelly, and members of the board. Our SMART goal for social emotional learning is as stated at the end of the 2018-2019 school year, student attendance will increase by 10%. We know that when students are present, they are learning, and we want this for all of our students. And so we're working to achieve this goal by creating an environment at Valley View where all students want to be and a strong community sense, and we're doing this through different events. We just tonight had kindergarten roundup. We have EL family nights. We just had a very successful books and bingo night for our families, which we'll see some pictures of in just a little bit. Our school carnivals, I've seen many of you in attendance at our Valley View Fun Run as well, so lots of things are happening to bring the community together. We also place a strong importance on communication through Seesaw, our monthly school newsletters, which are translated in Spanish for our Spanish-speaking families, through parent emails and phone calls, our Valley View Facebook page, I hope you've checked that out, and messages on Blackboard, and also in our school programming. We want our students to see themselves represented in the school and the things that they're reading and the things that they're seeing on the walls in our banners, in the student work, so that they know that they are a valued member of our community and that they are important to us. Another way that we have worked to support students in social emotional learning is through the restructuring of our Time to Think room, which is now known as our reset room. And this is just a space for students to go and work on self-regulation skills to reset if they're not being successful in the classroom. And so if you're there, we'd love for you to check it out. We have lots of spaces around the room, yoga mats, breathing techniques. We have lots of posters and visuals to help them with zones of regulation so that they can really develop those coping skills and learn how to kind of get control of their body and to reset, to truly reset so that they can get back into class so that they don't miss out on learning. And this is also in an effort to reduce out-of-school suspensions, which you saw that we have reduced in the past. And so we want to continue that work to get the students back into the classroom where they need to be. We've also provided trauma-sensitive school training for our staff in August. We had some presenters come in and talk about de-escalation techniques, how to help students with self-regulation. We got to practice and learn yoga calm techniques ourselves, which is helpful for us as professionals as well. And so the staff have been using that and presenting that as we start each staff meeting and PLC work time, just to kind of keep that fresh in our mind, those techniques and strategies that will work with our students.
Well, good evening, Chair Larkin, Superintendent Kelly, and members of the board. Let me say I'm delighted to be a part of your district. I have been blown away by the amount of team building within the staff and the community building that we do with our families and the support that we receive from our partnerships. So one thing that I thought was really cool was right at the beginning of the year, we had a family picnic, meaning for the staff to bring their families together. This was before people were getting paid, and I thought, nobody's going to really come. So many staff members came. It was a great way for me to get to know the staff before I started, so that was really, really cool. Another way that we've done some team building has been with our neighborhood walks. Again, I was really impressed coming to this district to find out, okay, we're going to now walk the neighborhoods. We're going to leave flyers if people aren't home saying, can't wait to see you at school, or knocking on the door and saying, hello, we're your teachers, hello, we're your administrators. I thought that was amazing, and I think that all the schools in Columbia Heights do participate in that. Amazing, just really cool to be a part of that. Just recently, at the end of October, we had our first family night where we had books, bubblegum, and bingo, where they could win books for the bingo time. We had kickball, where we had parents and students playing kickball together. That was really fun. And we had a really neat art project that our art teacher created with the students and their families. Again, our partnerships, I keep saying that I'm really impressed, but I am very impressed with this district. As far as the Big Brothers, Big Sisters program that's really strong at Valley View, the Sheridan Project, where we have so many volunteers coming in every week to help with the food program. That's amazing that we have all of these community members that will come in. Lee Carlson, which is our mental health support that we have. Reading Corps, we do have a full-time Reading Corps person right now. She's really been helpful with the students. Rotary Club, giving the dictionaries to all the third grade students. We have the DARE program, the partnerships with the police department, and the Read with a Police Officer, where I think that's really important for the students to see that connection with the police officers, that we can build these relationships. They get to know each other, they get to know their community police officers. The Lions Club has been so generous with their vision screenings and helping with getting eyeglasses for students in need that maybe can't afford to have the eyeglasses. Just recently, too, we also had the American Legion fruit donation where they brought in a whole bunch of apples that were very delicious. And coming soon, we're going to have the wildlife outreach program. Finally, right before break, we were treated to the, I'm not going to say it right, probably the Delphia Cello Quartet. That was a sponsored partnership through the Minnesota Public Radio. And all of our students were able to listen, even the preschoolers, and that was amazing. I wish more people would have been able to attend, but it was quite an event. So I'm proud to be part of this district. I'm proud to be part of Valley View. This has been a wonderful school.
And that concludes our vision card presentation.
Questions?
I actually do have a question. I noticed for the first time, I saw attendance listed in the SMART goal. Is there a higher than normal attendance, lack of attendance at Valley View? Because that's the first time I've ever seen that.
When we were looking at our school data and compared to other schools, it's an area that we need improvement in. And so, and I think that's also a symptom of kids and families feeling that their kids need to be at school every day and have that urgency. And so we wanted to make sure that we were intentional and focused on making sure our efforts were to make sure our kids were in school as much as possible. I know that we were at about 77%, and that's according to how MDE measures attendance, so it's not the way that I first internalized that, but I'll be happy to address that. But it's an area that I know that Valley View needs to take a look at.
77% on
it
an
was
average?
around there.
That does seem kind of low. So yeah, I think that's really important.
Part of the way that the Department of Education is now, the new method of measuring attendance includes, it's not simply unexcused absences. It includes if students are ill, home ill, if students have a doctor's appointment, or a variety of types of absences. The only absence that doesn't count in that count is if students are out of class because they're on a field trip. Other than that, every other type of attendance is included in that.
think that's great. I mean, I like the smart attendance goals. I know that I happen to be married to a teacher, and I think tardiness probably has a big impact too on
Sure.
the learning day. So just getting them there and having them in the classroom is a big deal, right? It's hard to learn if you're not where your teacher is.
Right.
So thanks for thinking out of the box on that one, and welcome to our district.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're glad to have you.
Can you share a little bit with us some of your planning on really working on some of those proficiency areas?
Sure.
There's specific, the math, reading, science, where we're scoring level 1. Talk about some of the things that you're looking at implementing. this
So
year.
the first work that we did started in June, really taking a look at the curriculum and mapping it out, and then doing a side-by-side comparison of what the state standards were and looking to see if those things were aligned, and then taking a look at what we were doing to assess our curriculum and making sure. And what we were finding at some of our grade levels is that there were some pretty substantial gaps. Nothing was intentional. They were following their curriculum as the scope and sequence, but there were some skills and strategies that really needed to be embedded and supplemented. And now that's the work of the PLC, is to become aware of that and create those tasks so that we're addressing the standards and not just covering the curriculum.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I saw that you have a 40% English learner. Is that what the data showed? How are you working to help kids who are still trying to learn English to gain that proficiency they need?
And so what we do is we differentiate our EL teachers' time that we have allotted on staff. And so we look at our level 1 and level 2 EL learners, and we want them to get the tier 1 instruction. We don't want them pulled out. And then we want them to get the double dip from an EL, focusing on the vocabulary and looking at some of the phonic pieces. And then as they get to levels 4 and 5, then those are a gradual release, and so they're spending more time in the classroom, and the EL teachers are checking up, seeing if we're having any kids fall through the cracks. But we're really trying to focus on establishing a strong foundation with their level 1 and 2 students.
And just for people watching, level 1 and 2 would be kids with the least amount of
Like
English
beginners,
experience.
maybe
Yep.
new to school, yes, with level 5 being the highest proficiency.
Also, so I understand maybe through the PLCs, the teachers are going to be working on realigning the curriculum to the standards and making sure the gaps are filled. Where and there is the curriculum going to be changed or tweaked to address the needs of students of color?
And so right now we're looking at the skill deficiencies that we have school-wide. One of the things when you're looking at our population as students of color is something that we don't have to specifically address as a small group, but that is our tier 1 instruction because of the makeup of our demographics. I know that with the equity work that we're participating in with the district leadership team and also the campus equity team, is that we're taking a hard look at how are we delivering instruction, how are we grouping students, and are we really data-driven and making sure that we're intentional on using data and not any possible prejudices that we may have individually. So those are the discussions that we're beginning with.
If I could just add, across the district, we've added in systems. So one of the measures that you saw there, and I'll talk again about that this evening, were the Cbm measurements. And what we've done as we've moved into lots of new systems this year, we've added on FAST and FAST Bridge. And so that allows students in kindergarten all the way through 8th grade to take a fall, winter, and spring growth assessment similar to the MAP test, but then also we're training teachers on how to do the weekly or biweekly progress monitoring. And so through that, they can determine if students need a tier 1, 2, or 3 intervention. They can easily, with this new data system, access that data and determine who needs more frequent progress monitoring, what are they working on, assigning the different specific tiered interventions. Thank you.
Yep.
So that's one area, and then I know we talk a lot about Dreambox at this board table, but we recently had the Dreambox come out and provide a training for our math leadership team, and they really dove deep into how to individualize and personalize. Teachers can assign lessons if students are kind of stagnant on Dreambox, they can go in deep and turn something off and push them, propel students forward, or have conversations with the students like, oh, I notice you've been on this one 10-minute lesson for 20 minutes. Let's talk about what what's tripping you up. So we're trying to provide, the broad curriculum, but then also, the standards-based curriculum, but then also those individual pieces so that as Principal Fellows is providing that space and time for PLCs, teachers have that data at their fingertips. So they can disaggregate it by race, ethnicity, grade, gender, all of the different, and that's what we urge them to look at.
And when our campus is participating in PLC time, those are done after school so other grade levels can talk to each other and other departments can talk to other teams as well. So that's done during a common time.
Heard a lot about Dreambox. Do we have the technology and devices to support that much rigor and time? I mean, do you have what you need to accomplish that goal? I know we're not one-to-one in the lower grades, right?
Right.
Honestly, over the last couple of years, there have been a couple of different versions of tablets that we did have some challenges with, and the tech department was able to find a workaround. But the devices that we currently have this year in the grade levels, it works seamlessly on those.
And we're formatting it more as a station and a center, so it's not just the whole class works on Dreambox at the one time. So there's small group instruction, independent work, and then station work.
So you're not dependent on having 30, I'm just trying to imagine 30 second graders all trying to log in at the same time. And that's why I don't teach second grade, but, kindergarten, I don't know who does Dreambox, but.
That's also part of our morning math, so students can come in the morning before school starts and do Dreambox as well.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
so,
Go ahead,
sorry.
Yeah. Sorry.
So you explained a lot how you would handle the interventions when students do need help. But again, at that tier 1 where the majority of the students do need a lot of help, and there are many students who are from minority populations. Have you looked at maybe using culturally relevant curriculum, things like that? I mean, I'm asking and I'm just kind of waiting without saying anything.
I understand what you're talking about, and we discussed the different reading passages and the different books that the students are exposed to. And we're looking at, some classrooms are more adept at using the novels and the different reading passages and making sure that they're aligned to the standards. And I think we're still in the development stage as a campus, as having a thorough understanding of what the rigorous tasks are. And then once we know what the rigorous task looks like, then we're looking at finding the materials to make sure that we're inclusive for our students.
And in terms of culturally relevant texts in front of children, over the last couple of years, 2 years ago, we added about 50 different texts that aligned directly with our literacy units that were multicultural and culturally relevant so that kids could see themselves within the texts that they were reading. And then this year, we've pushed out into the classrooms district-wide in the elementary schools, guided reading, multicultural packs of guided reading books that teachers have at their hands, so that it all is aligned with the curriculum. Mm-hmm. So we've definitely understand that one curriculum, doesn't fit everything. It's doesn't accomplish everything. So we've, through our literacy leadership team, really deeply analyzed that curriculum and found where we can add, and looked at every single unit. Some units, there are a lot more different multicultural texts. So westward expansion in 4th grade, for example, from whose perspective? And so making sure that there's multiple perspective texts so that the kids can have a deeper and richer understanding. So it's definitely something that's on our radar as a district. We do have guaranteed curriculum across the district, so it's not a Valley View only. It's all 3 elementary schools utilize the same curriculum. And then they're part of those discussions, equity team and then the literacy leadership teams as well.
Bill? Okay. Thanks for taking the time to come in tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, strategic direction A and B.
Brian and Zena?
Chair Larkin, members of the board, Superintendent Kelly. This evening, Director Stemick and I are presenting District Vision Card, Strategic Directions A and B. And our mission statement, of course, creating worlds of opportunity for every learner, and our core values of community excellence, collaboration, integrity, respect, courage, and innovation. And I believe you'll hear a lot of those tones throughout this presentation as we talk about the data. The data that we're going to talk about today is data that a lot of the data you've heard, it's just now it's more at a district level data. So this is an informational presentation. The governance happened back when we passed the previous strategic plan. So our demographics, you'll see very similar to what you just saw with Valley View's presentation. Hispanic and Black African American, both at 34%, and then white at 19% are our three largest groups. Not a significant change from last year. Maybe a percentage point change in any one category, but no more than that. And again, the enrollment by special population, slightly different than Valley View's, but again, percentage point or two change, but nothing significant. Our free and reduced rate did go down by between 1 and 2%. Our English learner population in the district did go up by approximately just over 1%. So those populations did change a little bit, but not a significant change.
Okay, so taking a look at the scorecard, starting with the instruction. As we've talked about this evening and other times at the board, last year we really focused on aligning curriculum. So we took a look at Atlas, which is our online curriculum warehouse, and streamlined it. The teaching and learning team looked at it and said, wow, there are 15 different categories on here that teachers are having to input. And so we were able to streamline that down and then train teachers throughout the school year. So they worked all year last year on our professional development days in teams, getting facilitated professional development, and then that time to really make sure that each of their courses are aligned. Some of our teachers teach, multiple courses. Our elementary teachers teach multiple subjects. Our secondary teachers teach multiple subjects. So really going through each of those as a team. We're there.
With the A5, we talk about 21st century learning, the presence of that in our classrooms. Our focus in that area, we talk about the personalized learning initiative, and as that initiative moved across the district and expanded, over the years we've seen this grow. We think we started at around a level 2 when we first started measuring this, and we've now grown to a level 5 as that initiative has grown now to grades 4 through 12. And A6 has stayed steady at a level 5.
All right, so moving on to support, really looking at the data, for example, A7, presence of multi-tiered interventions for academics. Taking a look at this data, we are making changes, and that'll be kind of the mantra for this evening's presentation, really deep dive into the data and understanding where we can tweak and make those enhancements in order to get better and better and see growth. So we have a strong focus this year on multi-tiered systems of support, and then A11 as well, that parent involvement by expanding things like the Seesaw app to additional schools, additional grade levels, new systems with our Blackboard Connect, and different ways to reach out to parents. We have met again with our family engagement committee at the district level, and at our last family engagement meeting last month, we talked about what's the difference between parent involvement and parent engagement, and what can we do about it to make sure that parents are engaged, because that's on us at the school level. So we're having those conversations in areas where we're not satisfied and wanting to move forward.
A12 and A13 are participation in arts, activities, and athletics. This definitely is a bright spot. We're definitely seeing increased level in participation, and I think with the onset of Encore this year, that helped bump these numbers up as well, and really giving the students the opportunities to participate in those extracurricular activities. And one of the really great things every year when we look at the data is just how our participation and demographics match. So the students that are participating in these extracurricular activities are really matching our student population. So it's always really great to see those numbers every year and see how they align. And even as our numbers have grown in what we're doing, we still see those numbers stay at that less than 10% gap.
All right, looking at participation in early childhood programming and the metrics being around screening. So screening by age 5. We screen here in the district center multiple times a year, so families have lots of opportunities to come in starting at age 3. So families who have a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, or a 5-year-old can come in for that early childhood screening prior to entering kindergarten. So lots of opportunities right here.
And then our overall scorecard for this direction, we did move up a little bit this year. And again, I talked about our increase in participation in those extracurricular activities that helped us move a couple of percentage points. And then, of course, AVID. And we had a couple, or a move from one level to another for AVID. So that gave us approximately 3% increase this year in our score.
All right, so now we'll move to strategic direction, or vision card B. The first metrics there in B1 and B2, that is the MAP test. And again, over the years, due to lots of different testing requirements, that test has been eliminated to 2nd grade to meet the read well by 3rd grade federal requirement. So as I mentioned earlier, we have moved from this assessment, so our next year scorecard will include a much broader student pool now that we're using the FAST and FastBridge screening and progress monitoring. So this year, with that heavy focus on PLCs, we're meeting monthly as a district administrative team with principals and directors and coordinators to present on our progress, on our data. It's really not me or the superintendent presenting to the principals, it's the opposite. It's principals coming and presenting to us their progress data. So it's a real heavy focus because we need this target to move. Next, B5. B5, so again, MCAs, we know that we need to improve in our MCAs, and those efforts in looking at progress monitoring on a biweekly, monthly basis. I log on myself to the systems to take a peek at where they're at and pull the data and ask a lot of questions. Principals are reporting, we just met last week. Principals are reporting out on every single one of their grade levels and what data they're looking at and how they're making progress and how they're finding the time to meet and implement these strategies. At the district level, we're bringing in more professional development to ensure that teachers understand how to use that systems, how to analyze the data, and what to do. What are the next steps and what are the things that we can offer to support them. All right. This is looking at the ACT exam. So in Columbia Heights Public Schools, all students in 11th grade have the opportunity to take the ACT during the school day. So it's not only, like when I took the ACT, it was, I had to go on a Saturday, just a few, not all kids took it. Here in Columbia Heights High School, all kids take the ACT in 11th grade, or they have the opportunity to do so. So looking at the data, and again, what can we do to make gains? We are working this year with our 11th grade college readiness class to implement new interventions to make sure that we're increasing there.
B13, we're talking about referrals out of class. We just recently had a conversation about attendance and the importance of attendance and schools having SMART goals about attendance, and that's no different for discipline as far as removing the student from class. It's best that the students are in the class, in some cases we need to increase our social work or mental health supports to ensure that those students are getting the supports they need. But our numbers, it still says that we're a level 1 with those referrals out of class, but we're right on the border. We have a team that's working and discussing our discipline data, and We just had a meeting this morning.
We did.
So I do participate in that meeting, and so we're really discussing that data, and so we're definitely making headway on this conversation and making sure that students are in class and learning. And I would say that moving on to our out of school suspensions, since we've had this measure, we've been a level 1 every year, and I would say that we probably weren't very close to achieving a level 2, and we've moved to a level 3. So I think our efforts are showing in the data. So we really hope that our efforts will show also in our achievement.
All right. This slide starts off with advanced placement, or AP. So again, a really big focus area at the high school level. This year we had the highest number of students take the AP exam, over 300 in the last spring 2018. So we're very excited about that. We are working closely with the College Board, looking at advanced placement, pre-AP, Khan Academy, PSAT, SAT, all of the components from the College Board. In fact, we meet monthly with a committee to make sure that our students have access and that they're prepared to achieve at this level. The graduation rate, which is B18. So the metric to move up would be, we're currently in the top 28% of the state. So we didn't meet that top 25%, but we are in the top 28, and that is better than the last 2 years.
So then our overall score, there was about a 1% change. It still keeps us in a level 2, but it was a 1% drop for this year, last year.
So as we've mentioned, our major areas of focus this year are utilizing that time for professional learning communities, where we're looking at the data, discussing the strategies, and pushing in the interventions, the multi-tiered systems of support and interventions. Personalized learning, not only with the devices, but also the programs that we're utilizing. Social emotional learning, and equity. And looking back at last year, some of our celebrations, implementing the new Wonders literacy curriculum, expanding our personalized learning program, lots of successes in our athletics and activities program with many art awards, lots of student athletes going to state tournaments and being successful in state tournaments. The onset of our Encore program, bringing Encore back through our 21st Century Community Learning Grant. And then we always need to celebrate the community donating over $292,000 worth of scholarships for our high school graduating seniors. So lots of celebrations there. So if there are any questions.
I see that, you mentioned we're changing from the maps to FAST or something. And I see we measure ACT. On our new measures, are we going to use ACT still on our,
So
are we going to continue to do that, or are we thinking we could move toward SAT model?
My recommendation is, when we're using measures like this, is to not name the exact test, because they actually do change quite frequently. So if ACT and SAT, we can say a college readiness assessment, our college and career readiness assessment, we can even pull the exact language that's in statute and use that instead of naming one exact assessment, because they do change. They've changed over the years. MCAs weren't always the MCAs. We used to have BST, and for example. So it'll be, my recommendation is that we measure what it's measuring and not the brand name.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up would be the process for sale of 2019 A bonds.
Good evening, Chair Larkin, school board members, and Superintendent Kelly. We're here this evening to address general obligation building schedule of events. Next to me is Mr. Kelly Smith from Springstead, and he'll be covering the details. The first component we'd like to address is our mission. Columbia Heights Public Schools creates worlds of opportunity for every learner. And the core values include community, excellence, collaboration, integrity, respect, courage, and innovation. And this is an informational presentation. And so I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Kelly Smith.
Very good. Thank you. Chair Larkin, members of the board, and Superintendent Kelly. First of all, congratulations on a big victory on election night, and that's exciting for the school district and community. And I know a lot of hard work went into that effort, and now the hard work turns into let's get something built, and we need some money to do that. So that's why I'm here tonight, just to talk to you about the process of selling bonds that will finance the building projects that have been approved by the community. So I don't know if everyone has the attachment in front of them, or it'll be up on here. We have a schedule of events that is pretty typical for all districts that are selling bonds. Typically, it's about a 3-month process from start to finish, and we began work shortly after Election Day. So I'm not going to go through every line item on here, but I just want to hit a few highlights. Work has already started. We have been requesting information from the district starting this week on financial information, past audits. A lot of that we have, but we're getting updated information in terms of enrollment. And that's for a document that's called an official statement, which is actually what is used by underwriters to help sell these bonds to investors. They want to know all about the Columbia Heights School District. And this 70 to 80 page document has all the financial data, enrollment projections, who your largest employers are within your school district, what the tax base is, and all of that kind of information. So we're collecting that right now. A couple other dates I want to point out. December 18th, your next school board meeting, you will be asked to adopt 2 resolutions that are called set sale resolutions. Those resolutions are the formal action to set the sale of bonds for the January 22nd will be the sale date. So there will be 2 resolutions because there are 2 different types of bonds that we're going to be selling to achieve the goals of the district in terms of financing and staying within the tax impact that was communicated to your public. So those resolutions will be passed on the 18th. You should have a draft of those resolutions by December 5th, and I believe there will be a communication going out explaining that. But again, primarily it just says that the sale of these bonds will be held on January 22nd at 10 o'clock in the morning. It is an electronic sale process that we coordinate as your financial advisor. We do not buy bonds ourselves. We are your financial advisor, and we will help you through this process. But underwriters will be bidding on that. And for a $17 million bond, we anticipate 5 to 10 bidders will be hopefully engaged in the bidding that morning. We'll communicate to Ms. Humnick and Superintendent Kelly the results of those bids by about midday and make a recommendation who we would recommend as the winning bidders for the sale of those bonds. At the prior to the sale date, we will go through a rating process, and it's been a few years since the district has issued any bonds, but the district has used Moody's in the past, and will do so for this issue. And again, that is also that's a conversation with a credit rating agency who wants to learn all about the school district and what guarantees that investors will be paid back as those bonds mature. And that should take place early in January. I see the week of January 7th. So then, January 22nd is the sale and consideration. So after those bids are received, the board will be asked to pass 2 more resolutions accepting the results of those sale and awarding the bids to the recommended bidders. And then lastly, proceeds will come to the school district approximately February 21st. And we will be getting wiring directions from the district and work with you as far as looking at investment options for those proceeds. And I know you've already been meeting with construction managers and architects, planning those schedules and things, so you'll have funds available February 21st to begin that process. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have. I should reiterate one thing. These are 15-year bonds, and that's less than typical general obligation school building bonds. The most typical is 20-year. We have seen some as high as 30 years, but 15 years because of your debt structure and a desire to keep interest payments as minimal as possible. 15 years was selected, and that will be the length of these bonds. So.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, so December would be when there's going to be some type of board action to take place. December 18th?
December 18th.
Yeah.
Yep.
December 18th, we have the resolutions to authorize the bonds. Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Kelly.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Next up is program and grade level clothing. Superintendent Kelly.
Mr. Chair and members, tonight we have a really kind of quick update on programs and grade level closings. Due to student enrollment beyond capacity in Highland and Valley View, we are projecting that we need to close Highland Elementary Grade 5 to open enrollment. There is currently 98 students, and that's 33 students to the class. And the ideal is no more than 30. And so when we're looking at that, that's occurring both at Highland and at Valley View. So we want to make sure we have room for any residents that might move in. So we'd be recommending those 2 grade levels be closed. And then the Highland Elementary LEAP program, which is the Gifted and Talented program, generally runs at around 20, and right now it's sitting at 23. And in order to accommodate residents that might be moving in after the first of the year, we'd like to recommend that we close that program as well, only open to residents. And so this is not atypical for this time of year to close some grade levels, but we need to always, while we need to be open to open enrollment, we also need to be thinking about our area residents that might be moving in. So we want to make sure that we are ahead of the curve on that. So the governance question really that you'll be seeing on December 18th is a recommendation to close those 2 grade levels and the LEAP program.
Questions? Comments?
Just for people who are watching, open enrollment is something that the state requires, right? As for school districts that are not maxed out in their capacity, correct?
Exactly, and accepting integration funds. So, and because we are neighbors to Minneapolis, there's some DSEG history and lawsuits that say that in Minnesota there's choice, and in Minneapolis there's particular legislation and lawsuits that say open enrollment is possible not only in January but throughout the year for us. And so we have a number of compounding factors. The middle school currently is closed to open enrollment because we are beyond capacity, so it's only appropriate to close for capacity, and that's what we're doing.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that for everyone.
Anybody else? Okay. Next up would be the police liaison contract. And Bernice gets to come back and visit with us.
Good evening, Chair Larkin, school board members, and Superintendent Kelly. The police liaison contract for 2019 it's informational in your packet. The city council reviewed it last night, and the signed document is actually in Don's hands today. The most significant change will be the change from, there was a line item specifically for the middle school for the longevity for the police liaison, and that changed the value. In 2018, it was $5,997.12. In 2019, that line is zeroed. So really, the program has been in place in prior years. The agreement language remains the same as in previous years, and the total cost reflects the actual wage and fringe costs for 2019. And it has an estimated increase of $344.55 and will be paid for with Safe Schools funding, Finance Code 342.
Questions? I was fortunate enough to be at the city council meeting last night when they actually were talking about it on the city side, because obviously it's a joint powers, and they seem very pleased with the collaboration with the district, and they feel that it's a good resource for both. So I know that they unanimously was in support of it last night. So
great.
Do we have any questions about this? This will be coming back as an action item, right? Okay. Anybody else have any questions on that? Thanks, Bernice. Okay, next up, policy first reading, Natty.
Yeah, the policy committee met a couple weeks back now, so a couple weeks back, and did a first read on various policies as we like to throughout. So we're going to talk tonight about, should I read the?
Just read them all, yeah.
Yep. 506, student discipline. 509, enrollment of non-resident students. 525, violence prevention applicable to students and staff. 530, immunization requirements. 802, disposition of obsolete equipment and materials. These policies will appear on a future agenda for approval.
So they'll be available for viewing for anybody that's interested, and then when we do our second reading for action, we'll find out whether or not there's been any questions or changes or requests there. Okay, we'll move on to action items. We'll start with the 2017 audit. And I think Matt's here. I saw him in the back there. There he is.
Good evening, Chair Larkin, school board members, and Superintendent Kelly. I would like to introduce Matt Mayer from KDV, and he will be presenting the audit for fiscal year 2018.
Thank you, Bernice. Mr. Chair, members of the board, Superintendent, thanks for the invitation to present tonight. It's my second meeting with you. We had a good session last week in a work session environment, kind of work through the nuts and bolts, so I just want to provide a high-level overview of the results of the audit for 2018 tonight so you can take action later and accept that report. Just a reminder about what the audit is for the district. The district has a responsibility each year to prepare financial statements for the public, and our job as auditors is to test, examine, and give an opinion on those statements so that users can be assured of their accuracy, and you as a board can rely on them as a true picture of the district's financial position from which to make your future financial decisions. We provide an independent auditor's report, which was unmodified this year, which means that those numbers are true and accurate and that you can rely on them. We also issued 3 other reports, one on the single audit. This has to do with compliance with federal programs. We tested the Title I program and the special education program this year with no issues, so that means that those programs are being executed according to the terms on which you've agreed to with the federal government. We also looked at internal control, and internal control is the policies and procedures that you have here at the district to ensure accurate financial reporting at the end of the year and to safeguard the district's assets. And we have one what I call perennial finding regarding lack of segregation of accounting duties. We have a small office environment here, so there's some overlap that occurs, and in a perfect accounting environment, we'd like to see see perfect segregation of those duties, so each individual is honoring their role in the process. With the small office environment, sometimes we see overlap, which we do have here, but we feel that the district has instituted some very solid mitigating controls to help alleviate some of the issues with that lack of segregation. But we'll remind you of it each year and leave it up to you as a board on how or if you want to address that issue moving forward. And then the final report is on Minnesota legal compliance, and this has to do with all the statutes that dictate how a school district should be run here in the state of Minnesota, conflicts of interest, deposits and investment, contracting and bidding, and happy to report no findings for 2017-2018 there. So I think an extremely clean audit. It was a year of significant transition for the finance department. I want to thank Director Humnick for her work and her team's work in preparing for the audit, and I think we have some good numbers to present to you, and I'll spend just 2 minutes just to remind you about the results of the performance of your general fund for the year, and then allow you to accept the results for the year. Want to talk about the budget in the context, excuse me, the general fund operations in the context of the budget. And if you recall, you approved a budget with $46.9 million in revenue, $47.5 million in spending. So you did authorize actually a use of fund balance or spending down of your financial position by about $623,000 this year. The district actually outperformed quite well on the budget. Revenues were significantly better than anticipated, over $1 million higher than the budgeted amount. Enrollment was a factor, and as a result, general education aid, which is based on enrollment, came in better than anticipated. Spending was also kept in check very well and was done under the parameters that you as a board established by administration, actually coming in about $680,000 under budget. Significant savings in instructional categories for salaries and benefits and capital outlay, and there were some overages in transportation, netting it back the other way, but in general, administration did an excellent job in executing that budget for you. So rather than fund balance actually going down, the fund balance or the financial health of the district improved by $1.2 million for the year. And I want to show you one other chart just to give you some perspective on this. Very tough to read. I apologize for that very fine print. But the total fund balance went from $3.9 million to $5.1 million at the end of the year. We include that as your total fund balance. The discretionary amount, after taking into account the restrictions imposed on you by the state, the set-asides that they mandate, and the internal set-asides that you have, ends up being about a $2.6 million unassigned fund balance, which is very similar to last year's fund balance at this time. The district has a policy that you want that unrestricted position to be somewhere between 6 and 12% of a year's worth of spending. That's the financial health range that you'd like to see as a district, and if you run the numbers for the year, your fund balance ended up being 7.6%. So you are within the range that you've established for yourself, so your financial health is in a range that's acceptable to you. It's a little bit on the lower end of that, but a successful year with the surplus and moving you back into that fund balance range that you've established for financial health. So I will leave it at that. If there's any questions from our work session you'd like me to elaborate on, I'd be happy to do that. But again, I just wanted tonight to provide the actual results of the audit and a quick overview of the general fund financial position.
Do we have any questions?
I actually do. Sorry, I'm questioning tonight. Just for people who are watching, can you give me like the 30 to 60 second rundown on what it is an audit?
Sure.
Yeah, sorry, I could have given you these, so sorry for the on the spot.
No problem at all. As I mentioned earlier, the district basically runs the finances here. You've got the finance department to do that. Their job is to pay the bills, pay your vendors, to make sure everybody gets paid on payroll date, and at the end of the year, account for everything that happened. We're going to talk about all the revenue that you received, all the spending that you made, and what's your financial position at the end of the year. They put all of that together after June 30th, and then invite us in around October, after that is all completed, and say, here's what happened during the year, here's what we're purporting to be the financial position of the district and the actual activity for the year. Our team comes in and we do tests, we examine, we inquire, we double check, we talk to third parties to make sure that all those numbers, whether it be the amount of cash you have in your bank account or how much your IOU from the state is for the unpaid aids, is an accurate amount. So we test all the balances that are big enough to matter, and at the end of the process we can say, yes, that's a true picture of where you landed. So that's our goal. And so again, the credit to your finance team for coming up with the numbers. My job here is to come in and basically kind of bless them at the end of the year and let you know you can rely on them. So hopefully that's a fair summary.
Yeah. And I think just given kind of the landscape of some, like the current political climate out there of distrust, how could somebody know that they can trust what you're doing to check what we're doing?
How they can trust me?
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Okay. All right.
I am a certified public accountant. I'm licensed annually on that. I required to report to the state annually to ensure that I still qualify for that, continuing professional education and the like. Our firm, just to give you our firm's resume, works with about 60 school districts and charter schools in the state of Minnesota. So we're very familiar with the process of school district accounting, and we are specialists in government as well. So I think I'm very comfortable offering that as a resume and my credentials to let you know that we feel we have the background to provide that assurance to you.
Thanks.
Anybody else?
I actually do have one question. I know that we generally go for a much more in-depth audit. Did we follow this procedure again this time? I mean, going with a very deep, what is there's like two levels. There's the one that that hits the main accounting things, and then there's also the additional kind of really going in and making sure that the processes and stuff are really working well.
Yeah, I think what you might be speaking of is that there's two sets of rules for auditing an entity. One is generally accepted auditing standards, and I can audit anything with those standards. I can audit Delta Airlines, Best Buy companies, the nonprofit down the block, and that's the general rules for how to audit anybody. There's an additional set of rules called government auditing standards that are specific, obviously, to governmental units, of which the school district is one. They're more specific to that environment. They're much more compliance-oriented, and again, that was one of the reports that we issued, and it goes back to basically the internal control, and that's the processes and procedures. We do look at those, we evaluate those, don't necessarily give an opinion on them, but if we have concerns that we believe need to be brought to your attention, we bring them out through this report. And again, that one finding this year was that segregation of duties issue with the small office staff.
Anybody else? Okay, and then I would look for a motion to move this forward to accept the audit.
So moved.
Molly,
Second.
Natty, any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Good to see you
Bernice.
all again.
Oh, Bernice, you gotta stay there, don't you? For OPEB. This is...
Good evening, Chair Larkin, school board members, and Superintendent Kelly. I'm here this evening for the action related to the OPEB incumbency, which is just really a routine business matter, officially removing Christine Carr, the previous employee, from that account and adding Bernice Humnick to that account.
Okay, start with the motion to move that forward.
So moved.
Is that Lori?
Second.
And Molly, and this is a resolution, so I'm going to read the resolution real quick, and then we'll have a discussion. Resolution of the Board of Directors Certificate of Incumbency, whereas the Columbia Heights Independent School District Number 13 OPEB Trust DTD 1216 of 08 is authorized to appoint Wells Fargo, N.A., Wells Fargo, and Wells Fargo's capacity as trustee in the Columbia Heights Independent School District Number 13 Board of Directors. Board has delegated certain functions to individuals authorized entity of representative to act on the school district behalf. Resolved that the following are authorized entity representatives and that a minimum of 2 of them is or are required in order to take such actions and execute such documents on behalf of the corporation with respect to its agreement with Wells Fargo. Those 2 names are Catherine L. Kelly, Superintendent, and Bernice Humnick, Director of Finance. It's resolved that Wells Fargo shall be fully protected by relying upon this resolution and shall be indemnified and hold harmless for many and all claims, demands, expenses, losses, or damages, including reasonable attorney fees related to Wells Fargo's reliance on this resolution. Resolved that this resolution shall replace, supersede any prior resolution to conflict herewith. I certify that I'm duly elected and qualified corporate secretary authorized to certify resolutions of the board, that the above is true and correct. Copy of resolution adopted by the board and that said resolutions are in full effect and have not been replaced, amended, or canceled. Further certify that any representative's name is in his or her authentic official signature, and that the authority of such persons may be relied upon until Wells Fargo receives further notice from me or my successor. So this is same resolution, it's always been, just the name change of adding yours, so, okay. Any questions or discussion on that? Okay, this is a resolution, so if we could, all out roll call vote, please.
Lewis.
Aye.
Larkin.
Aye.
Severson.
Aye.
Mueller.
Aye.
Palmer.
Aye.
Samurai. Aye.
Motion carries. Thanks, Bernice. Next up would be the new suspended or deleted courses.
Chair Larkin, members of the board, Superintendent Kelly. Last week at the school board meeting, we discussed and you were presented with information on the new suspended and deleted courses. So this evening, you will be asked to approve the changes in those courses presented. I'd like to review some of those courses briefly and some of those proposals. So starting with Columbia Academy, really the only thing we're looking at is continuing the pilot of the intervention courses. So currently, and expanding that pilot. So currently we have the pilot of our math and reading intervention courses in grades 6 and 7. We would like another year with those courses to study and analyze the effectiveness in the data, and also expand it to 8th grade to see the full complement. So that's the first proposal. Next, at Columbia Heights High School, we have multiple changes and additions to talk about. The first one is really focusing on our career and our career readiness courses, so college and career and technical education. We are in a collaboration with Intermediate District 916 that coordinates our federal Perkins dollars. Through this collaboration and in order to comply with the regulations from the Minnesota Department of Education, we need to make some changes to our career and technical education courses. So first, basically, what the federal funding stream and the Department of Education are requiring is that we have a very clear pathway for like a level 1 to a level 2 to a level 3. And so while we have many different types of business classes, accounting or whatnot, different marketing, you'll see in a minute, sports marketing, really working with the District 916 to establish a Business 101 course that would be a step 1 course, and then feeding into a marketing course. Currently, we have sports marketing. And in looking at the data in terms of our enrollment, we found there was a gender imbalance. And so we feel by tweaking that curriculum and making it a general marketing class, we would be able to have more of a balance there. And then that would be the next step. The third step, of course, being the opportunities for business classes that we have through our partnership with District 916. The same is true for culinary arts, really needing that. You can see culinary 101 and 201, so having that step 1 course and that step 2 course. And again, this is all in order to comply with regulations. Next, looking at human geography at 9th grade, this is part of the standards that are required. The next course is an opportunity that we have because we're part of the North Suburban Post-Secondary Success Consortium. One of the other partner districts is Roseville Area Schools, and they are not able to fully fund a 1.0 FTE of an Arabic language teacher, and are seeking through our partnership in that consortium to partner up and to have each district or the 2 different districts fund a portion of a teacher. And with that would bring about Arabic language classes at the high school. So now we're looking at courses to delete at the high school. As I talked about that that flow that we need, that pathway, step 1, step 2. Really, keyboarding as a class in itself is no longer, doesn't meet the requirements of a highly needed area. This will move as a unit into the course, but not as an entire course itself. And the same goes for confectionery crafting. The course as it is currently at the high school does not meet the requirements, but those skills will move into that Culinary Arts 101 and 201. The next proposal is for a pilot at the high school. This is pre-AP, so this is from the National College Board. So basically, many middle schools and high schools around the country have classes that are called pre-AP. However, these classes are not officially AP or pre-AP classes. And so the College Board has decided to really trademark and brand pre-AP, and they're launching national pilots for pre-AP courses in 9th grade. If we are approved for those courses, we would like to be part of that pilot. So there are 8 different courses, 4 core classes, and then also 4 arts classes. So we will find out in a matter of days if we are approved for that course, and then start the process to pilot those courses next year. Elementary, we're not proposing any new courses or deleted courses. So with that, I'm asking you to approve the changes as presented.
Start with the motion to move that forward.
No moved.
That was
Laura.
Laura?
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Paula. Discussion, questions, comments?
I just want to reiterate, I mean, we had a long conversation, I think, at our work session on this information, so I appreciate that. I think we had some really good discussion and talking points, and I just wanted to share, or to just kind of have some conversation about some of those. I think it's key to point out that the deleted courses at the high school, which are really the only courses that we're deleting at this point, are actually being absorbed into other classes because they don't meet the requirements of the Minnesota Department of Education. So the skills are still being taught. They're just, essentially, it's being rebranded and redeveloped into something else that does align with requirements, correct?
Correct.
And then specifically regarding the Arabic language class, I think Principal Robleski, when he had talked to us last week, really talked about the student input on the adding additional language. Can you provide some more information on that?
So last year, the high school staff conducted focus groups with students around their educational experiences, and one of the requests that came about, one of the top requests, was to provide Arabic language classes, and so we were thrilled, as you can imagine, earlier this year when, through our partnership with the North Suburban, when Roseville approached the district and asked if we could partner in that manner. It was just meant to be.
It gives us an opportunity to provide a second language that, one, is pertains to our community, and 2, really pertains to our global presence as well. So I think it's an opportunity for our students. And I know we talked as well too of next year providing a little bit more opportunity of further examination of the courses, just a little bit deeper timeline from presentation to approval.
We did.
With this year, there isn't really, I think, anything controversial that we're being asked to approve, but making sure that we've got a little bit more time to get this information out there moving forward.
Yep, currently our timeline, we're hoping for approval this evening so that upon approval, the courses, the high school has to print that big course guide, and that takes quite a while to get to the press, get all together and return and then distribute.
I think one of the really encouraging things that was mentioned too last week in our work session was with the culinary arts classes, an opportunity to go a little bit deeper there and have students have the opportunity to maybe even come away with some certifications, like food safe certificates, correct, where they could literally be career ready by taking some of these courses. And
so as part of our partnership with District 916, they're showing us through these different courses that they offer and what we could offer. So one example is the Safe Serve certificate. And so that's a national certificate that that students or adults or anyone can go through that training and complete. And so upon finishing that class and getting that certificate, they can certainly, it opens up their opportunities for jobs. And there are other certificates that we're exploring.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, hearing no further discussion. On the new suspended and deleted courses, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Thanks, Zena.
Thank you.
Next up is board book renewal.
Chair Larkin, members of the board, Superintendent Kelly, this is our annual action item for renewal of our board book software. This is a subscription for putting together the board packets. We use this product also to post the board packets, and both internally and publicly. And it also serves as an archival of our board packets that are accessible to all of us. So it's a huge time savings for us, and we're producing a lot less paper, or using a lot less paper because of it. Instead of printing out the 100 and some page packets for everybody that needs a packet, we just post it online. So it continues to show its value. The product has only gone up $100 over the last 9 years. Almost 10 years now, it's only gone up $100. So it's through the Minnesota School Boards Association that we receive this pricing. So we recommend continuing this for the next year.
Okay, motion to move that forward.
So moved.
Lauren?
Second.
Molly? And just for point of interest, it's $2,100
Correct.
I didn't know if you said that, I apologize, I didn't hear that, but so that's what would the invoice would be. So, questions, comments, discussion?
Just a quick question. And I know that there's a lot of different products out there that kind of are supposed to make the board meetings a little easier. Do we ever, look at maybe another product? I mean, I've been really happy with board books, so, I'm not.
Minnesota School Board Association vetted the products back in the day, when we first started with this, and because of the value, the price, we just really can't get a better price for what we're getting. So, we could go out and look for that again, but again, there's a lot of school districts across the state are using this, and that's why we get such a good price.
No, so we get a better deal because
better
we're.
deal, yeah.
Okay, so it's definitely
Yep.
even the dollar. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, hearing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Next up will be the approval of school board organizational meeting procedures. And we, last week in our work session, we discussed and looked at, it's first Monday in January, our meeting obviously is on a Tuesday, but that one is put out, and we have, currently we are using both Robert's Rules of Order, the revised 10th edition, and then as prepared by Karen Keppel, the first Monday in January, and that was prepared by the Minnesota School Board Association as procedures for organizational meetings. Basically what it does is it gives us a very specific process or structure to go through for electing officers and assigning different positions within the board. So what we're looking to do tonight is to adopt, to use the first Monday in January in Robert's Rules. So we'll start with a motion to move that forward.
So moved.
Maddie,
Second.
Lorian, and discussion, conversations, comments.
This is just for everyone watching, this is the same thing we do every year to elect our officers, so it would be a no change from previous years, except minor changes in the
There are minor
state
changes
stuff.
within the procedure, but it was in replacing a member that were to leave for whatever reason, was the timeframes and things like that, and those were statute stuff. Yeah, so there were statute changes within it, so. Okay, hearing no further conversation, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Next would be the establishment of a school board ad hoc subcommittee, and this is a resolution. This is a result of conversations that the board has had, that they were looking to figure out ways to at least evaluate, if not certainly try to improve our community engagement. So what we've decided to do is to establish a subcommittee. And we're going to be asking you to pass a resolution tonight to form this ad hoc subcommittee. So what I'll do is, if it's okay with you guys, we'll just do like we normally do with our resolutions, is I will ask for a motion in a second. I'll read the resolution and then open it up for discussion. So,
So moved.
Molly
Second.
and Lorian. Thank you. Okay. Resolution regarding ad hoc subcommittee establishment, whereas on October 16th, 2018 work session, the school board members discussed the possibility of establishing an ad hoc subcommittee on community engagement, and whereas it is the policy of the school board to designate school board ad hoc subcommittees when it is determined that a committee process facilitates the mission of the school board, and whereas a school board ad hoc subcommittee will be formed by the school board resolution, which shall outline the duties and purpose of the ad hoc subcommittees. Whereas the school board reserves the right to limit, create, or abolish ad hoc subcommittees as it deems appropriate, and whereas a school board chair shall appoint the members of the ad hoc subcommittee and designate the chair, whereas the ad hoc subcommittee work and its recommendations will be completed and presented to the school board no later than June 11th, 2019. Therefore, be it resolved by the School Board of Independent School District Number 13 as follows. The Board of Education of Columbia Heights Public Schools does hereby resolve to form a school board ad hoc subcommittee on community engagement to research, define, and make recommendations to the full school board on the followings. What are the best practices on community engagement as they relate to the school board governance? What will be the school board role in the area of community engagement? What are specific recommendations for school board strategies to bolster community engagement? What revenues are available and expenditures necessary to support these school board community engagement efforts? What metrics will be used to evaluate the recommended school board community engagement strategies? What is the timeline for the school board community engagement implementation? And that's it. So, let's open it up for conversation or discussion. None?
Well, we've been talking a lot about this. I mean,
Yeah, we have.
it's a
It's
big discussion, and we've had a lot of conversations, so I don't want our silence to be read as disinterest or lack of thoughtfulness, but it's been well discussed at work sessions, multiple work sessions, so.
Yeah, and I think it's a great idea. And do we need to discuss, I mean, the appointments now, what does it matter or not?
Part of the motion.
It is, and the motion it is?
I think so. At the bottom of the
Okay.
page, is it not?
Okay, yeah. Okay, so I'll read the entire motion then. Motion to approve the attached resolution forming a school board ad hoc subcommittee on community engagement and appointing school board members Lorian Mueller, Hala Samurai, and Addie Severson to the subcommittee. So with that being said, if there is no further questions or comments, there's a resolution. So Hala, if you would be so kind as to do a roll call, please.
Lewis.
Aye.
Larkin.
Aye.
Severson.
Aye.
Mueller.
Aye.
Palmer.
Aye.
A Samurai. Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Thanks. Nobody go sit down. Next up would be the superintendent's contract. And Karen is here. And the board is going to be asked to approve the extension of the superintendent's contract.
Chair Larkin, members of the board, Superintendent Kelly. I'm here to discuss the considered agreement for Superintendent Kelly. As you know, on June 30, 2019, at the end of this school year, her current contract for a 3-year term will be expiring by its natural terms. And about, I think it was 2 weeks ago, tonight, we had a closed session to discuss labor negotiation strategies, so you had an opportunity to consider what to do next. And as you know, it's typical that this time of the year in superintendent's contracts that are about to expire, that you move forward with a decision about what should follow the expiration of this contract. And in our discussions and Superintendent Kelly's desires, there is a proposal to adopt a one-year contract with a 2% increase in the current salary, which is the same as the increase that was negotiated by each of the bargaining units in the recently settled contract. So it would be commensurate with other employees of the school district. And it would be for a period of 1 year. In all other respects, the contract would remain the same.
Start with a motion to move that forward, please.
So moved.
Laura?
Second.
Molly? Discussion?
This is common practice to do a one-year extension rather than a 3-year contract. This is wise.
Just to clarify, it's not exactly an extension just because this one is expiring. So it'll be a new contract, and it's just a standalone one-year contract. It's not unusual. And I think that it seems to be in the interests of all parties to move forward with a one-year contract.
I'm going to make a comment too. Superintendent Kelly has been at the helm here for quite some time, and I appreciate the service that she's had here for us and the commitment to the students and to us as board members and to the community. And I think at this point in time, it's prudent. There's a lot going on right now, and with the bonds that we just talked about and the potential and the construction happening, we need to do our due diligence as a board to take next steps. And if we're looking for a new superintendent, we need the time to do that appropriately. So offering Superintendent Kelly a one-year contract to give us the opportunity to appropriately decide what's next while we're still adequately maintaining all of the things that we have on our plates over the next year is wise for us as a board.
Any other discussion? Okay. On the table is an extension of the superintendent's contract for 1 year. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Next up is board topics. Anybody have anything for board topics tonight? When do we meet again?
The 18th, well, the policy committee is the 11th.
Policy, but they're just.
Full
the
board, 18th.
I think it's December 11th. The holiday train is coming into Heights over on Stinson and 37th there. It's the one that they've done the last couple of years. So if you're looking for events coming up, that's going on. So prior to the next meeting. Anybody else? Anything for board topics? Okay. If there are none, we'll adjourn the meeting at 9:13.